podcast. I'm your host, Micah Reeves. My co-host, Carlos de Alvarado, will not be joining us today. And this isn't because he couldn't make it, and this isn't because I didn't want him on. I mean, it's just because I wanted to try to do a podcast on my own. And, it's not that I don't think that Carlos would be good doing this podcast. I just kind of wanted to try it on my own. And Carlos doesn't even know that I'm recording this podcast without him. I didn't even tell him. So, it's not that he didn't want to be here or anything like that. There's nothing between us. It's just, I just wanted to do it on my own. So before we get into this podcast, I wanted to tell you guys that, if you haven't already subscribed or followed my Instagram account, please go on Instagram and follow that account for exclusive news and channel content. And, me and Carlos and a lot of other guys, matter of fact, there's probably about 12 of us, that are involved in the creating of a special project that we have been working on for the last couple of months. And, we haven't announced it to everyone yet, and we're probably not going to for a little while yet. But, when we do, it's going to be on Instagram. We're going to announce it on Instagram, and it's probably not going to be done for another year, so don't get excited yet. But this special project that we are working on, it's going to be awesome. And we just, I just want you to know that when we do announce it, it's going to be on Instagram. So if you haven't followed on Instagram yet, please follow on Instagram. So without further ado, let's begin this podcast. So today's podcast, we're going to be talking about life. Just life. I don't know how many times I'm going to be talking about life or how many different, parts I'm going to have for this specific podcast on life. But today, we're going to talk about life. And we're going to talk about a specific subject in life. And that specific subject is dogs. And maybe children, if I get into why children are stupid. But we're going to be talking about dogs today. And we're not talking about why dogs are stupid or why kids are stupid, okay? Just to make that clear. You'll see why when I get into it. So, dogs are great companions for families. A lot of families have dogs just because, they're so awesome. Certain different people like certain different dogs, and okay, I'm not trying to be racist, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but I'm just saying, black people like certain types of dogs, Hispanics like certain types of dogs, white people like certain types of dogs. That's just how it is, okay? And if you see that as offensive, then I'm sorry, it's the truth, so you can go cry about it. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. I sound like a jerk whenever I say that. I'm just trying to clarify my points. Anyways, dogs. A lot of people have dogs. Yes. What the crap was I going to talk about dogs? Oh, yes. So, a lot of people have dogs, right? And a lot of people consider their dogs part of their family. And that's fine, because dogs are part of your family. You can adopt a dog. But when you adopt a dog, you're not adopting it as a child, okay? Your dog's not your child. Your dog is a pet. Don't go on calling your dog a child. And don't, say that when you put little subtitles on your dog, that's cringy, dude. Okay? You put it up on Instagram and you have subtitles on your dog, and your dog's like, I'm hungry. That's not what your dog's saying, because your dog can't talk. And it's so cute when you do that. No, it's not. It's just weird. It's just weird. Like, I get why people do it, but I don't know. I myself don't really appreciate when people put subtitles on dogs, because you don't know what the dog's thinking, because the dog isn't thinking in English. It's not thinking words. It's an animal. It's still an animal, and it's not your child. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm its dad," or "I'm its mom. This is my baby." No, it's not. No, it's a dog. It's just a dog, man. And you got to treat it like a dog. Of course, a dog is part of your family, and you can't adopt a dog, but it's not your child. All right? See, I had a point I was going to make after that, but I just can't remember it. Oh, yeah, don't dress your dog up inside little tiny suits, okay? Don't put your dogs in clothes. Dogs don't like clothes. They already have fur. Okay, I could see that if your dog was some nasty breed that doesn't have any hair, kind of like those nasty cats that don't have any hair, I could see putting a coat on it because it's probably cold. But if your dog has a fur coat already, you don't have to put clothes on it. You don't have to, snuggle it up and stuff. It's just weird. And I know it's cute dressing your dog up into a potato suit or something like that, or dressing him up like friggin' minion or elf. But do you really think the dogs like that? I think the dogs want to get out of those suits, like, kind of badly. It's cool for some photo shoots, but don't do it all the time. And I'm not saying that you should never do it, and I'm not really against people that do it. I'm just saying the dog don't like it. The dog ain't gonna like that. Like, nah. Hell nah. It's like putting on a coat, and then someone telling you, put on this coat on top of that coat, and walk around my heated house with those coats on, so I can take a video of you. That is hot. Of course. I mean, people do it for entertainment, but no one's going to want to do that all the time. Or shoes on dogs. Don't put shoes on dogs. Okay? It's just weird. Or socks. Dogs don't need socks. They got these padded feet. These little footsies with pads on them. And they can walk on stuff and be fine. Don't put footsies. Don't put footsies on a dog. It's just weird. Another thing. Don't let your dogs sleep in the bed with you. And I know I'm sounding like I'm telling you a bunch of do-nots. That's because a lot of people do weird things with their dogs. Okay? Don't let your dog sleep in your bed with you. It's nasty. You're getting hair everywhere. You're getting dirt everywhere. And you're sleeping in that hair and dirt. And not saying that your dog's nasty, but it's nasty, bro. Your dog's been outside all day rolling around in crap. Nasty. Don't let your dog... Get your dog a bed. Get your dog its own bed. It doesn't need to sleep with you, okay? All right. So, moving on to another topic. A lot of people take their dogs on walks, and that's a very good thing to do because it gives you and your dog exercise, and it causes a bond between you and your dog. And, you know, it's great. If you don't take your dog on a walk, I mean, they can get fat and stuff, especially if your dog is generally lazy or, you know, doesn't have a large free roaming area around. Like if you don't have a large yard, and they can't, you know, go around and rummage through the forest, then, you know, they're probably going to get kind of fat. So if you live in like a city and you have a dog, and it's okay to go on a run in the park. I think every city has a park in it, because if your city doesn't have a park in it, your city sucks. Okay, I'm just saying. Even New York has the New York Central Park, because, you know, every city has a park. So I'm pretty sure every city has a park. So you take your dog to the park and, you know, they get some exercise and it's really cool. But when your dog poops on the grass, pick up the poop. Pick up the poop. Okay. A lot of stuff that I'm saying here, that I'm going to be saying here today, is a lot of stuff that people agree with. Okay. And a lot of stuff that people are going to be like, yeah, why is he saying this? Because some people don't. Okay. Some people just don't realize that you got to pick up your dog's poop when they poop in the park. When your dog poops on the sidewalk, pick up your dog's poop. It's nasty. Okay? I'm running down there. I'm getting some exercise, and I see your dog's crap on the middle of the sidewalk. I don't want to see that. I don't need to see that. Pick it up. They got these little things, these little stations at most parks. They have these little baggies in them. You put them over your hands like a glove. You pick up the poop, and then you invert it to where it turns into a bag. If you don't know what it is, just look up like dog poop bag on the internet. And I know everyone knows what it is. I'm just trying to be entertaining. And you throw it away. You throw away the poop, okay? Don't let your dogs poop on the sidewalk. And don't let it just sit there. If your dog does poop on the sidewalk, I know sometimes it just kind of happens. At least pick it up. And if your park doesn't have one of those baggy stations, your park sucks. But if your park doesn't have one of those little baggy stations because your park sucks, at least move the poop into the grass, because it is nasty. And I don't want to see that on the sidewalk. I mean, if it's in the grass, it's okay. The right thing to do would be to pick it up, even if your dog does poop in the grass. But if it poops in the grass, you don't pick it up. I'm not going to be like, you're Satan. But if your dog poops on the sidewalk and you don't do anything about it, you're Satan. I'm sorry. Not like Satan himself, but you are figuratively Satan. Okay. I have a story. Your kids, okay? I know a lot of people listening to this are younger, around my age. You know, I'm around 19. I don't have any kids yet. But for those of you that do, and I don't know if anybody listening to this has kids, but those of you, if you're listening to this and you have kids, discipline your children, okay? and teach them to not go crap in the middle of the field, okay? I was playing soccer. And kids poop in fields, okay? I don't know whose child this was, but he pooped in the middle of the field, the soccer field at the high school that I went to. He pooped. Okay, it wasn't in the middle of the main field. It was in the middle of the small field, okay? At my high school, we had a men's field, a women's field, and then to the side of the women's field, we had this, like, little mini practice field type thing. And the boys and the girls' varsity teams were playing games, and the boys' JV squad was practicing on this little mini field to the side. And it was a little cold outside, so I was wearing a sweatshirt. Unfortunately for me, because I was stupid back then, the only sweatshirt that I brought with me to school that day was this pure white sweatshirt, and it said, "Rise Up, Stillwater." Because, that was my high school, and I don't know why it said Rise Up. It was kind of a stupid slogan, but I thought it was cool back then. And Rise Up, it's still kind of cool today, but anyway, I can't wear it anymore. I can wear it, but I used to not be able to wear it. Because when I was practicing in the 40-degree weather with my sweatshirt on, and I was cold, I slipped and fell on the grass. And I thought, the grass is just wet because, it was slightly raining before. But no, the grass wasn't wet because it was raining. The grass was wet because some child pooped in the grass. And this wasn't no like, I went poop and then it rolled down my leg. This was like nasty, watery, pudding poop. Pudding. Nasty. Okay? Don't let your kids poop in the field. And yes, it was children's poop because you can smell it. Human poop has a certain smell to it. All right? When your dog poops, yeah, it stinks, but it's not human stink. Okay? It's like dog stink. And when if you're out hunting and you see some deer poop, it's more like a hunting thing, but you smell the deer poop and you're like, you're trying to determine if it's fresh or not. Even if the poop is fresh, it is still not stanky as human poop. Okay, it smells more like dirt, honestly, because deer eat grass, and dogs, their poop doesn't necessarily stink as much as human poop because humans, we eat crap all day, so our poop stinks. And I fell in this child's poop, and it stank. And it got all over the back of my white sweatshirt, and so my white sweatshirt was just ruined, absolutely destroyed. I had a brown stain on the back of my white sweatshirt, and I couldn't do anything about it because it was cold outside. It's not like I could just take it off and be like, oh crap, my white sweatshirt has crap on it. No, I had to wear it because it was cold outside and I didn't have anything else to wear. So I went home and I tried to wash it and I couldn't get it off, so there's still like a little, it's very faint, but there's still a brown stain on that sweatshirt. And to make things worse, the brown stain on the back of the sweatshirt was like super faint, so I wasn't like super, I wasn't like super concerned about it, I guess. So I continued to wear the sweatshirt to school. I know it's nasty, and I'm pretty sure girls in my class are gonna be like, yeah, that was nasty. But I wore this sweatshirt to class, and I was eating an orange one day, and the orange juice from the orange spilt on my lap because I'm a slob, yes, and it caused this little orange stain on the sweatshirt, and I tried to wash it, but it turned into a yellow stain. So I had a sweatshirt that had a brown stain on the back and a yellow stain on the front, and it looked really bad. So I was like, screw this. So I didn't wear that sweatshirt for probably about 9 months or so. And then I had the genius idea. I was like, oh man, this is so genius. I sewed a black soccer Stillwater shirt to the front of it, and it actually doesn't look too bad. It looks raggy as crap, but it looks better than having a brown stain on the back and a yellow stain on the front of a pure white sweatshirt. So yes. But teach your kids to go poop. The point of this is to teach your kids how to go poop into the bathroom. Okay? You can't let your kids poop in a field. And this wasn't no, like I said before, this wasn't no, it rolled down my leg, Dad, and fell onto the field. This was round. It was watery. It was nasty. And it was cold outside, so it was more like a pudding. Okay? Some kid squatted down and pooped in the field. Okay? And it was a kid's poop because it smelled hella nasty. And if a dog pooped that much, I'd be a little concerned. Unless it was a big dog. But like I said before, it didn't smell like dog poop. It smelled like kids' poop. Nasty, nasty. And I even showed it to my dad because it was still on my cleat when I got home. I showed it to my dad. He's like, oh, man, that's nasty. Yeah, that's some child's poop right there. Nasty. And it was kind of big for a child's poop. It might have been a grown man. It might have been some homeless dude that just pooped. I don't know. But teach your kids to not poop in the field. And if it was a homeless dude, don't teach your kids to be homeless and poop in a field, okay? Oh, oops, touched the microphone, my bad. It's nasty, okay? It's just nasty. Don't let your kids poop in the field. Anyway, back to dogs. Don't let your kids poop. Don't let your dogs poop on the sidewalk, okay? That's disgusting. And if they do, that's reasonable. Accidents happen. Move the poop to the other side, okay? Of the side, or off the sidewalk. Move it off the sidewalk. I don't want to see that. All right. Another thing that we can talk about is disciplining your dog or your child. All right. You have to discipline your child the same as you have to discipline your dog the same as you discipline your child, okay? I'm not trying to hate on millennials or anything, but millennials suck at having children. They suck. Like, their children are pieces of garbage. I went to school with some millennial kids, okay? Not in my class, of course. I was like 8th grade when they were in like, they're probably in like 2nd or 3rd grade when I was in 8th grade. But they are pieces of crap. The kids born after like 2006, 2007, they are garbage because millennials don't know how to raise their kids. They don't know how to give discipline. They're like, oh, I don't want to hurt my kid because he's going to start crying if I spank him. Spank that kid. Give him some swats. Don't leave a mark, okay? You don't need to spank a kid to where they leave a mark. You don't need to go out and get a tree branch and start whipping him with it. Don't need to pull the belt off. You take your hand, you make it super flat, and you take their butt, and you go bap. Right on their butt. Just once, twice, maybe 3 times. That's all you need. And you keep, once, twice, 3 times, and they start crying. They're not crying because they're they are in physical pain, but they're not crying because they're hurt physically. They're crying because they have been disciplined. And anybody who has been disciplined feels uncomfortable. Even adults feel uncomfortable when they get disciplined. I feel uncomfortable when I get disciplined. Kids, when they feel uncomfortable, they cry. So spanking your child, don't be like, oh, my child, I don't want to spank my child. He's just too precious. No, your child is a friggin' demon. Spank him. Give him a little slap. I don't care how nice he seems, because when he goes to school and I have to deal with him, he's a piece of garbage. Discipline your children. And discipline your dogs, too, all right? I have another story. So, me and my brother Seth, and, my brother Seth, he was the middle child. I'm the youngest. Brother Caleb is the oldest boy, and then I have a sister, Brittany, who's the oldest of all of us. But, Caleb's the oldest boy, Seth's the middle boy, and I'm the youngest boy. So, excuse me, I'm going to get a drink of water here, and I'm not going to pause the podcast because I don't do that, so. I swallowed it really bad. That was bad. All right, that was my bad. I inhaled my water instead of actually swallowing it. Anyway, so okay, back to the podcast. Discipline your dogs. All right. Me, Seth, the middle child, and I'm the youngest. We were walking home, and we had a little group that we would walk home. Probably about like 3 or 4 of us would walk home, and it was me, Seth, and these two other guys. And Seth, for some reason, this certain day, he would always walk faster than everyone else. And I'd walk a little bit slower because I didn't really want to like rush home. It was like 3:30 in the afternoon. Like, what am I going to rush home to do? Homework? Like, no, I'm going to spend my time, walk with the boys, and, just enjoy myself. But, Seth likes to walk fast, get home, and do his homework real quick so he can get over it. Ooh, excuse me. Because he thinks about his homework a lot, and it kind of, like, bothers him if he doesn't have his homework done. It doesn't bother me if I don't. I actually have an assignment that I got to do today. Crap, that I haven't done yet. Shoot. Well, it's only 1 o'clock, so I'll be fine. But yeah, I have an assignment that I gotta do today. See, I'm not stressing about it. I'm doing a podcast instead. So anyway, Seth was ahead of us, and this dog, it didn't really like us a whole lot, and it was a little bit of it was aggressive. It would bark at us, not like a bark, bark, but like a bark, type of. Sorry, I totally deep fried the mic right there. I'm so sorry. But it was an aggressive bark, and we were just like, it's just barking us. It's fine. But one day the dog was feeling it. It was just really feeling it, and it decided to go ahead and attack Seth because he's always the one in front, and it jumped up onto him and it grabbed his backpack and it threw him into the ditch beside the road. And me and this these other guys, we went up and started going ham on the dog, and it ran away, and we picked up Seth and we kept on walking. But me, third grade me, was like, nah, I don't like that. And I started to have, like a canine phobia. I started to not like dogs. Except for my dog. I always loved my dog. But, because, everyone loves their dog. But I didn't like other dogs. I was scared of other dogs because of this incident. Yeah, excuse me. And, so I had that canine phobia all the way until around 8th grade. It was 7th grade. I finally figured out in 7th grade. Seth's friends graduated high school when I was in around the 5th grade, and we used to deal with these dogs together, Seth and his friends, because, I was the only younger guy that would walk. All of the dudes that would walk would be, Seth and his friends. So I would walk by myself from 5th grade to 7th grade. So for probably about 3 years, I had to deal with this dog by myself. And, I was a small child. Freshman year of high school, I was like 5'5", 5'6". And, even nowadays, I'm not, actually, no, I'm shorter than that. I was probably like 5'4", sheesh. And, nowadays, I'm only 5'8", 5'8 and a half. Actually, I think I'm 5'8 and 7/16 or something, just over half. And yes, I say that because men care about height. Because for some reason, women like tall guys. And I'm average, okay? I'm a world average. But I live in Montana, and all the Montana dudes are friggin' tall. I'm talking to you, Jacob Stutzman. You're tall, man. Mason's tall. Everyone seems to be taller than me. I go back home to Washington. Okay, not back home. My home is in Montana. But I go back to where I came from, Yakima, Washington. I'm like friggin' tall, man. 5'8" is relatively tall in Yakima, Washington. And that's not because the whole population of Yakima is Mexicans. It's just because I'm tall, okay? And nothing wrong. I'm not even going to comment on. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. Okay. I'm 5'8" and 7/16. And so like 5'8 and a half, but I'm going to say 7/16. And, in Montana, I'm short. Like the average height in Montana is like 5'11", 5'10", or even 6 foot. It might be 6 foot. The women are tall in Montana. I had girls in my class that were taller than me. That would never happen if I was in Washington. Or in most other states, for that matter. It's just people in Montana are tall for some reason. I don't know why. The farmers, they're on the farm, out in their yard, and they pick up hay, and for some reason it makes their back big out in the farm and the yard. Anyways, so discipline your dogs because they attack people. And I was scared of dogs from 5th grade to 7th grade. So, like 3 years. I used to have to walk home by myself, and I used to have to deal with this dog, and this dog would, it didn't really bother me a whole lot for the 5th grade year, but it just really started to just get more and more aggressive. It would just, it kept escalating and trying to get closer to me and trying to, go in for a little bite and stuff, and I was like, nah, hell nah, I ain't dealing with this. So I decided, and it was like the house right before my house, but on the other side of the street. So what I would do was I would climb over my neighbor's fence because it kind of did a little overlap thing. I climb over their fence, walk in my neighbor's yard, but it was more of a field because my neighbor has 3 acres. So they couldn't even see me from their house walking on their property. But I'd walk on their property, and the dog would bark on me, but I was across the fence, so it couldn't really do anything. So I was like, ha, loser. And my dad one time noticed that I was doing that, and he's like, Micah, you gotta face your fears. You can't be walking on the other side of that fence. So he made me walk on the road because he wanted me to face my fears. And I respect him for that. I totally respect him. At the time, I didn't. But right now, yeah, I can see his point. Yeah, I had to face my fears. And he was like, what you got to do, Micah, is you got to either befriend the dog or you got to be the alpha male. You got to show the dog who's boss. And I was like, I want to befriend the dog. I'm kind of more of a timid guy, I guess. And so he's like, all right, I'll buy you some treats and, give them to the dog when they start barking. You just throw them a treat and, pretty soon they'll get comfortable enough to where you can hand them to them and stuff. And then, you'll be the cool guy with treats instead of the trespasser. And so I was like, sweet. 2 weeks went by, my dad didn't buy me any treats, and the dog was still harassing me because my dad forgot. I don't know. He just didn't buy me any treats. So I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm going to go ham on this dog. I got a stick, and I would hide it in my backpack. And and my backpack was fairly big. It was like probably about a 3-foot stick. Maybe not that, maybe about 2.5 feet stick. I don't have it anymore, obviously, but I had this stick in my backpack, and the dog would come by and start barking at me, and I'd whip my stick out, and at first I'd just kind of like hold the stick and be like, if it comes towards me, I'm gonna hit it, but the dog was still like barking at me, and I was getting annoyed by it. So one day I was like, you know what, screw that, I'm just gonna bull rush this dog. So it started barking at me, and I sprinted towards him like, and I tried to whack it, and it ran back to its house, and I was like halfway down its yard, or halfway down its driveway, and then I was like, I did that for probably about, a week, and then finally the dog just was like, just stopped barking at me, and it was great. So, yeah, if you're dealing with a dog, just get a stick and try to whack it, and don't be timid. You gotta be like, it's time. It's like time for your inner Viking to come out, and you gotta go whack the dog out in the yard. So anyway, the point of this was discipline your dogs, okay? You got to know where your dogs are. Know what your dogs are doing. Because I was telling my dad, this dog is harassing me. And my dad went over with me to the dude's house. And we talked to the guy. And the dogs were like so nice. They're like, breathing on me. I'm like, don't breathe on me. You know what you did. You know that you hate me, you piece of crap. I didn't say that in front of its owner, of course, but I was thinking it. I was looking at that dog and like, you're garbage. You're a garbage dog. The dog's walking around and being all happy and joyous, and the owner's like, oh, my dog? His name was, Mo. Like, Mo Lester, okay? But it was just Mo. That was the dog's name. Who names their dog Mo? Like, who names your dog Mo? Like, garbage name. And when you say Mo, it sounds like no, so it's just like, you can't tell your dog no because it sounds like its name Mo, and it's just a stupid name. People are so stupid. Not everybody, but some people are just so dumb. And so, I tried to befriend the dog and call it Mo, but it didn't like being called Mo, so I just proceeded to try to beat it, and then it ran away, and it was fine. Because I had to discipline my neighbor's dog, okay? Because they wouldn't discipline it. We went to them, we were like, hey, your dog's harassing me. And the neighbor was like, oh, really? Yes, really? Why would I come over here and make up a story about your dog harassing me if it wasn't actually harassing me? Okay, I used to love dogs. I do now, but at the time I didn't. And at the time I was thinking, I used to love dogs. And you and your dog have made me to hate dogs. Okay? Because you didn't discipline them. It's okay to give your dog a little spanking every once in a while. And if your dog poops on the carpet, it's okay to rub their nose in it and make sure it knows, hey, don't poop on my fresh white carpet. I don't know why you'd have a white carpet, because that's just a bad idea, especially if you have kids and dogs. But if your dog poops on your carpet, especially if it's a white one, you got to take your dog, you grab it by its nose, it's not going to hurt it, and you rub its nose inside the poop. And then the dog thinks, that was hella nasty. Okay? And they're going to be confused for a couple of weeks. They're going to be thinking, I can't go poop anymore without them rubbing my nose in my own poop. And they're going to think, my life is hell. But then they're going to realize, if I poop out in the yard, they're not going to rub my nose in it. So then they start begging to get poop out in the yard. They start begging for it. Scratching the door, and they're like, gotta go poop in the yard. You gotta discipline your kids too. I already talked about spanking your kids, yes. Don't let your kids be animals, okay? Your kids are human beings. Don't let your kids be a piece of crap, all right? And don't try to reason with your children. A lot of people are like, oh, I can just talk with my kid. I'm just going to talk with my kid about this. Don't talk to your kid about this. Okay? Don't be like, hey, Jimmy, I noticed that you punched little Kimmy on the recess. I don't want you to do that, okay? No! You slap your child on the butt, not in the face, and don't leave a mark because that's illegal. But give your child a spanking. Okay? A lot of people already know that I'm just, for those millennials who for some reason don't seem to know how to raise children, but they love having children for some reason. Discipline your children. It's getting out of hand and annoying. And I don't have any children yet. All right? And you might be saying, Micah, you haven't had any children. You can't teach. You don't tell me how to raise my child. You don't even have children. Guess what? My children are already more successful than your children are, and they're not even born yet. Because I'm going to discipline my children. Children, yes. Discipline your children. All right? And your dogs. Okay, in the mornings at when I used to be in middle school and elementary, my parents would drop me off at school at 6:50 in the morning. Yes, they would drop me off at school at 6:50 in the morning, and school started at 8. The reason why is because we live a half hour away from town. So then they drop me off at 6:50. They drop my older brothers who are in high school at the high school in town at 7:30, and then they'd go to work at they get to work at 7:50, because work starts at 8 and school starts at 8 too. So I would have to go, I'd walk behind the school, because, the school's locked at 7:50. I'd walk behind the school, and the only person I was there would be the lunch lady, and she'd let me in through the back door of the kitchen, which was locked. So I had to give a little knock, and she'd come by and, let me in. One day, though, it was in October. I don't know, it was in November. We had this, every year, the middle school that I went to, they'd have this kind of Halloween festival type thing, where they'd have this little carnival type thing set up inside the gym, and kids would come. It was a fundraiser. Kids would come and pay money. They get tickets, and then you could play games and win candy. So, it was pretty cool. But the 8th graders of this year were pieces of crap. And, the 8th graders always ran it. They didn't really put away all the trash all that well, so they just had trash cans sitting out right in front of the back door to the way to get into the back of the kitchen. And they had these trash cans out in the front door, and some dog came. It was actually friggin' Mo, the black lab dog, who came by, and he was rummaging through the trash, and little young me was walking by, trying to get inside because it was cold, because it was November. The Christmas festival is always on Halloween, so it was the 31st. So, by the time I was walking, it was a weekend, so it was November 2nd or 3rd. And I'm trying to get inside, and this dog scares the crap out of me, and I scream, and the dog runs away, and then I have to, bang on the door. I was like, bah, 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 trying to get inside the door as quickly as possible. So, discipline your dogs, okay, so they don't scare little children trying to get into school at 6:50 in the morning when it's dark outside, okay? It's just mean. And it's just irresponsible of you to not train your dogs to do the proper thing, all right? Know where your dogs are at all times. Well, yeah, I know sometimes it's hard. I mean, I didn't know where my dog was all the time because, I live out in the middle of a forest, and my dog can just go out into the forest. But I knew when I wanted my dog to be home. And if my dog wasn't home at a certain time, you gotta discipline your dog. Be like, hey, yo, get home sooner. Smack, smack. Not hard smacks, but, little taps. Little boops. Same with your kids. Don't let your kids run wild. Well, I think I've exhausted this topic pretty thoroughly. I don't think there's anything else to talk about, honestly. A little bit of a shorter podcast today. And if you want more podcasts with just me, then, tell me. Leave a comment on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify and you can't leave comments, just go to YouTube, leave a comment. YouTube channel is the Apathetic Revis, and podcast is, of course, Apathetic Podcast on Spotify. Have a great rest of your day. Carlos will indeed be back next week. And once again, I didn't do this podcast because, I was thinking to myself, I don't want to have Carlos on this podcast. That's not why. And I didn't Carlos isn't in this podcast because I just didn't tell him I was doing this podcast, because I wanted to try to do a podcast by myself. I already explained that, so you already know. Make sure to check out the Instagram channel. Make sure to follow that for exclusive news and content, or I guess I should say channel news and exclusive content. And make sure to subscribe to YouTube, leave a like, hit that little bell notification. I don't even care if you subscribe, just hit the bell notification, really. And, on Spotify, please follow. It really helps the channel out when you follow. And leave a good review on Spotify as well. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you around. Yes, have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.